My dear friends, in the 7th session of Ashtanga Hridayam Sutra Sthanam, we are moving on to some important principles by which a drug or material or food materials, etc., are bringing out some actions in your body. Primarily, the material is called a dravyam, and it brings out some activities, some effects in your body, that is called karmam. And behind each and every karmam, there are some principles which are contained in the drug or in the material, which prompt the material to act in a particular fashion in your body. So those principles are called the principles of drug action. Action is another thing, and dravya is there, and for every dravya there are some actions. In between this dravya and action, there are some other principles by which this dravya is becoming potent or capable to bring out some actions in your body. So those principles are called the principles of drug action. And primarily, two chapters in Ashtanga Hridayam Sutra Sthanam, that is Dravyadi Vijnaniyam and Rasabhediyam, that is the 9th and 10th chapters of Ashtanga Hridayam Sutra Sthanam, deal with the basic things regarding the principles of drug action. It is not regarding individual drug, but the principles which are applicable to any drug or any material which we consume. So these are called the basic principle of pharmacology in Ayurveda. So as we already as we have already seen, dravya is the material which we consume, and it can be in the form of drug or food. And all the dravyas in the universe, as per Ayurveda or as per the Indian traditional thought, are made of Panjabhuta. I'll be explaining the same thing in the next slide. So invariably all the dravyas have the presence of bhutas in them, Panjabhuta in them, and that is the dravya. And this dravya possesses two attributes, that is guna and karma, as I have already mentioned. And the guna part of this dravya is again elaborated to different principles called one principle is called rasam. Rasam, we have already mentioned that rasa is the taste. And sometimes what happens is, after consuming the material and which undergoes some transformation in your body or digestion in your body, after the digestion the dravya is liable to change its characteristics, and the final characteristics may have some alterations from the original characteristics. So such a change, the drug is liable for such changes. So we should consider the action of the thing after metabolism also. So it can be it can vary from the original taste. So taste is an indicator of the drug action, but after undergoing the process of metabolism, there is a chance of the action to change in another fashion. So it should also be considered. Such an after the metabolic product, you can call it as a metabolic effect, is called a vipakam. It's another principle. So rasa is there, vipaka is there. As we have already seen in the 4th session, gunas are there. We have described the 20 gunas in opposite pairs and all. So among these gunas, there are two principal gunas which exhibit the most potent activities, that is called viryam, that is called potency or viryam. So virya is there. So for every drug, there are some rasas, can be combination of rasas, which we will discuss in this next slides. There can be two types of rasas. One is the prominent rasa and the other one is the secondary or subsidiary rasa. For example, if you consume honey, prominently it is a sweet in taste, that is madhuram. But there is a taste which is not that much pleasing, that is called kashaya rasam, astringent taste in madhu, in this honey. So it is not as sweet as sugar. There is some combination of another rasam, that is it's not that much pleasing. So this is a secondary rasam, that is called kashaya rasam. It's a secondary rasa, subsidiary rasa, or otherwise called anurasam. So rasas also can have its combinations. Predominantly, a dravya can have one or two tastes, and subsidiarily there can have different tastes also. So that is why this even the single taste becomes diversified. The madhura sweetness of sugar is different from sweetness of honey, or sweetness of jackfruit is different from sweetness of banana, because there can be an addition of another subsidiary taste to the original taste. So there can have some difference in combination of taste, and we will discuss it in Rasabhediyam. That chapter is called Rasabhediyam. Rasabhediyam means difference in taste. Okay. So dravya, when processed to prepare certain formulations, it is called processed to prepare certain formulations is called aushadha. Aushadha is a formulation. So a dravya is a raw drug or drug itself, and you can make the drug into multiple formulations. There are many formulations. For example, if you boil the dravya in water and express the liquid content, and the waste is discarded, that liquid is called kashayam. And this kashayam can be used for further formulations like krita, taila, and all. If you pour this kashayam to ghee and adding some paste on it, if you prepare this ghee, that is called the kritam, ghee. So this kashaya is a basic material for preparing this gridam. Kashaya is a basic material for preparing another formulation called thailam. There oils are used. So oils processed with this kashayam. So kashayam is a primary formulation. In formulation is called kalpana in Ayurveda. Kalpana. So kashaya is a primary formulation. There is another primary formulation called paste or kalkam. Kalkam is the, if you grind something and make it into a paste, so that is called kalkam. So that also is a primary kalpana. And another one is churnam. Churnam is a powder form of a material. And even the expressed juice can be taken from a material. So that is called a swarasam. So these types of kalpanas are there, primary kalpanas, and you can formulate other types of secondary kalpanas, like as I already mentioned, krita, taila, even asava, arishta. Those are alcoholic preparations. So all those are derived from the primary kalpanas. So many guligas are, pills are there. So almost 15 types of formulations are there. Fermented formulations are there. Even distilled formulations are there. Many types of formulations are there. So the same drug is amenable to be converted to different formulations. So if you want to treat a person with a drug, apart from the importance of that drug, the formulation also is becoming important, because all the persons are not suitable to be applied with all the formulations. For example, if you are having a drug called bala is the sida. It's a most commonly used plant in Ayurveda. In Malayalam it is called kurundoti. It's very common. So this bala itself, if you want to apply this bala for some conditions, for example, bala is commonly used to treat vata type of diseases. But the bala itself you can administer in different formulations. It should be suitable to the patient. For example, if you prepare a thaila on bala with the bala, you can consume it or you can apply externally. So that is thailam. If you prepare a krita with this the same thing, sometimes what happens is, if a person is not having that much appetite, so he is having agnimandyam. Agnimandyam means reduced appetite. Then this grida will not be that much suitable for that person. So if you consider his appetite, it will be more suitable to give this kashayam. Kashayam means what I have already mentioned. So kashaya will be more suitable considering his agni, or considering his digestive capacity. So even though drugs can be formulated in different formulations, The suitability of the formulation to the patient is more important than the content. So content and suitability are equally important. So such preparations are called aushadham. So drug is can be common and the formulations can be different according to the condition. Even in aushadha, single drug aushadhas are very rare. Usually we take a group of aushadhas, group of drugs to prepare an aushadha. That group is called ganam or vargam or yogam it is called. Yogam means a particular combination of drugs. Single drugs are also there, but usually single drugs are also used to treat many diseases. And as a single drug, you can use directly. But if you formulate into a drug, you have to add some other drugs. You have to prepare it in some methodology or in formulations. There are so many details. Such a branch of Ayurveda which deals with the pharmaceutical processing is called Bhaishajya Kalpana. So Dravyaguna Vijnanam is the pharmacological part of drugs as we deal now. Dravyaguna Vijnanam. And Bhaishajya Kalpana is another part of the same thing which stresses on the formulations. So these two things together constitute the drug spectrum in Ayurveda. There are two basic principles on drug action. One is, as we have already mentioned, similars are added and dissimilars are getting reduced. If you use a drug to your body, it brings out some changes by adding similar things. For example, if you use a drug which is guru in nature, guru is a gunam, as we already mentioned, that adds to the guru nature of your body and reduce the laghu nature. Okay, that is the theory of Samanya Vishesha Siddhantam, that is similars and dissimilars. And as I've already mentioned, five elemental theory, that is the Panchabhuta Siddhantam, is another basic theory of all the principles of drug action. Panchabhuta Siddhantam is about the material components of the world, any material, including a human body. Bhuta, the term Bhuta is derived from a root bhu, which means one which exists. So broadly, we mean that 5 things are existing in the world. 5 types of things, or even a single material can have all these 5 things in it. So broadly, there are 5 materials or 5 components to all the materials in the universe, and they are Prithvi, Appa, Tejas, Vayu and Agasham, earth, water, fire, air and ether. Primarily, this you can derive some ideas about these components. That is, earth contributes the mass or bulk or solidity, and water or up or apaha, it is for binding something. The materials are bound together. In human body, different materials are bound together. It is a liquid, presence of a liquidity there, which binds things together. And Agni, you can call it as a transformation or energy. Air contributes to the movement, and Akasham contributes to the space. So this is the overall description on which way these bhutas are working in and around us. So the bhutas are present in materials including human body. So human body is made up of panchabhutas. When we go to the anatomy and physiology part of Ayurveda, we will describe how this panchabhuta contribute to human body. But here it is not relevant. Here we are going to how these panchabhutas contribute to the makeup of a material. So nature or materials around us are made of panchabhutas. The same constitution is there for human body, so they can interact. So that is the basic thing. How the materials are capable to make changes in human body, because human body and these materials are made of the same 5 principles. That is the mutuality of the human body with the nature. So this is the basic concept of Panchabhuta Siddhantam. And we'll move on to the pharmacology part of Panchabhuta in the next slide. In the Dravyaguna Vijnanam or pharmacology itself, there are 3 types of knowledge, that is material, Dravyam, Gunam and Karmam, as we have already seen. So Dravya is the material, Guna is the attributes and Karma is the action. Just we are moving on to an example. You take a dravyam. Here, two dravyas are there. One is a pepper, or it is called marijam, and the other one is a tulasi. Tulsi is called Rosimum sanctum. Both these drugs together is this drug. This is a aushadham. This is when you prepare a kashayam with these drugs. It's called a aushadham. It is the aushadha which is very simple. The most simplest aushadha. So, one among the most simplest formulations in Ayurveda. The combination of this formulation, these two drugs, is called Sita Jwarari Kashayam. Or if you prepare Kashayam out of these two drugs, it is called Sita Jwarari Kashayam. It's generally is used to treat Jwaram. Jwaram means fever or common cold or something like that. It's the simplest, one of the simplest forms of formulations in Ayurveda. So it is you can define one karmam of this dravya as Jwaraharam. Jwaraharam means it is useful in treating Jwaram, antipyretic. Now we will examine the prominent gunas in this dravya. That is, one is pepper and tulasi. Both are mostly ushnam and tikshnam. Ushnam means the hotness, and tikshnam is the sharpness. So in the case of Jwaram, Jwaram is a disease. In the concept of Ayurveda, Jwaram is a disease which is primarily caused by indigestion. Something is there which is not properly digested in your body. So the primary aim of your treatment will be to digest whichever is not properly digested. It can be food material. It can be a virus which is not properly digested, because while virus is entered into your body takes this virus as something, as a foreign body, and body tries to digest it, but it is not easily possible to digest the thing. So the body needs something from outside for digesting this thing. It can be anything. It can be a toxic material. It can be anything which is not properly digested in the body. So naturally, for digesting something, you need the help of an ushna. Ushna is the thing which promotes digestion. So you can explain in this way. This ushna tikshna, these two drugs which are having ushna tikshna guna, acts on Agni. Agni means with the digestive capacity. So support this Agni, support the digestive capacity of your body for digesting the unassimilated or undigested content. So such an activity is called Amapajanam. Amam is the undigested thing in your body. We will discuss this Amam later, how it causes diseases and all. So Ama is a primary concept in Ayurveda, which is responsible for different diseases in Ayurveda. The presence of Ama is a primary cause for diseases in Ayurveda, including Jwaram, including fever. Fever is the main disease which is caused by Amam. So the drug should act on Agni for Amapajanam, or it brings out Amapajanam. And on other side, when the same drug acts on Srotas means the vasculature in your body, or vessel system, any type of vessels, or any type of vessels which transform, which transport something, is called Srotas. It can be a vasculature in your body. So this, when Ushna Tikshna materials acts on this Srotas, naturally it becomes the dilative action will be there. What vasodilative action will be? The Ushna property will bring out dilation of a tube or a vessel. Naturally, there will be perspiration in your body. So that action is called Sweda Jananam. Sweda Jananam. Or Swedanam, simply. Perspirant. So the same properties, same qualities, or same gunas acting on two different sites bring out different actions. These two actions together is called the Jwaraharam. So Jwaraharam is a resultant activity combined with the two individual activities, Amapajanam and Swedanam, brought about by the same drug at different actions, and altogether it becomes Jwaraharam. So this is the fashion in which Ayurveda, here it is only two drugs are available. You can have multiple drugs of the same action, which intensifies the activity of the combination. Or sometimes in the combination there can be some drugs which uh, controls the intensive activity of another drug, can call it as an antidote. If a drug is there, sometimes this drug is capable of bringing out some negative effects, ill effects in your body. So same drug will be containing another drug which can resist this type of changes in your body here. But what happens is both of the drugs are having the same, almost the same activity, so the action will be intensified with each other. So this is the way in which a dravya exhibits a karma in your body. This is the most simplest example. In other diseases, there can be number of drugs will be more, and the actions also will be more. We call the action as bhalashruti. Bhalashruti of a aushadha is the action, the expected action of the drug, bhalashruti. So here the bhalashruti is jwaraharam or karmam. That is a karma. Jwaraharam. This Balasruti is in turn composed of two individual karmas brought about by the same drug in different action sites. The site number of sites can increase. According to that, the action also can be modified. So this is the basic example of how a drug acts in your body. You know, move on to the Panchabhuta configuration of a thing. You can see different bhutas. Usually what happens is, even though Panchabhuta are the structural components of a thing, we are not examining the thing as in its structure. We take this Panchabhuta to your body and we decide which bhuta is there based on the activities brought about the drug. It is not a physical thing. For example, Prithvi is the grossest thing. Prithvi, you can rocks are the Prithvi. In the nature, rocks are the Prithvi. But rock, if you take rock as a medicine, it is not capable to, or even it is not a digestible also. So the concept is slightly different. Prithvi is there when a drug after consumption it brings out some changes in your body. We assume that Prithvi is there. Otherwise, it is very difficult to identify the proportion of Prithvi in a material. Prithvi, Jala, Agni, Vaya. If you take Jala as liquid, but some other things are there which are not liquid, but they are having some properties which Jala brings out. It is not a liquid thing. So this is the not a physical evaluation. You cannot evaluate physically which is the bhuta predominant there. We rely on major qualities and activities to assess which bhutas are there in the drug. So these type of expressions are not physical, they are biological. So Prithvi brings out some activity in your body. It increases heaviness, stability, consistency, and growth of the body. So such materials are called Parthivam. Parthivam is a predominantly Prithvi. All the materials are having all the bhutas, but there will be some dominance in some qualities and activities. In such a way, Prithvi, Jala. Apyam means the drug which is predominantly Jalam. Agneya means Agni. Vayavi means Vayu, and Akasham, Akasha. For example, Akasham is the most lightest of the bhutas. So they are Sukshma. Sukshma means subtle, Visadam, and Lekhu, increasing lightness and porosity. So if you consume a thing in a increased manner or excessive quantity, if it brings out lightness and porosity, such a material is called Akashi. So this is the way in which we identify bhuta. And you can see this slides for more details about what are the activities. I'm not to explain each and everything. It is very clear in this table. And another concept is all the materials in the universe are told to be composed of bhutas. So in a way, all materials are drugs. By appropriate application, you can make use of any material. For example, if a material is not suitable for internal consumption, you can make use of it by another external consumption. For example, if you get mud itself is not consumable internally, but you can use the mud for some external applications and all. So in such a way, all the materials in the world are drugs by suitable application. Even Visham itself, toxin itself, you can use as a in Ayurveda. The toxins, antitoxins are, or antidotes are, equally toxins. So they mutually act and neutralize. So the antidote of a toxin will be naturally another toxin. So in such a way, toxins also are beneficial by proper application. Application is more important than the material. You have to know where to apply, how to apply. Okay. So since all materials are composed of a peculiar combination of bhutas, they possess their own definite actions in the body, no doubt. Anything has actions in the body. Hence, there are no materials without an action in the body, useful in different situations through different applications. That is more important. Jagatyeva anaushadham na kinjit vidyate dravyam vasan nanartha yogayoho. So the purpose, the suitability, and the mode of application is more important by while using anything as a material. Here you can see a sage is called Jivaka. There is a story regarding Jivaka. Jivaka was a famous student of Atreya. Atreya was the famous master of Takshashila. So this Jivaka is very famous as a physician of Sri Buddha. So after completing his study under Atreya in Takshashila, this Jivaka went to his guru and asked him, what should I do as a Guru Dakshina? Okay, then Guru told that I don't need anything. You please collect something which is not usable as a drug. You go somewhere and collect something which cannot be used as a drug for some conditions or other conditions. And he went off in search of such a material. And after 12 years, he came back. After 12 years of search, he came back depressed because he could not find out. He could not give some as a Guru Dakshina because he was in search of such a material to give as a Guru Dakshina, but he could not give such a material. So this he told that unfortunately I cannot find anything which is not having an activity, because he was that much scholarly. He knows everything. So then Guru told that this is the Guru Dakshina which I wanted. So that statement which Guru told to Jivaka is the master statement, as all materials are drugs. Jagatyeva manaushadham na kinjit vidyate dravyam vasan nanartha yogayo. So regarding the principles of drug action, there are chiefly 5 principles: rasa, guna, virya, vipaka, and prabhava. These are the principles. So dravya is there. In dravya, these 5 principles are there. By these principles, this dravya brings out action. So that is the combination. So first we will move on to rasa. The chapter whole dedicated to rasam is Rasabhediyam, because our masters considered rasa as the primary indicator of a drug action. Because if you consume a thing, the guna, virya, vipaka, and prabhava are later in action, because you cannot identify immediately the virya, vipaka, and prabhava, but rasa can be assessed immediately. So rasa is considered to be the primary indicator of drug action, or first indicator of drug action. And even they are having different Panchabhuta makeup. Like Madhura Rasa is predominantly with the Prithvi and Jala. So there are combinations of Panchabhuta in Rasa. And there are some grouping of drugs based on Rasa. It is called Rasa Skandham. The materials are grouped into 6 groups based on the prominent Rasa which they possess. Dravyas usually exhibit combination of rasa with predominance to one. The principal taste is called pradhana rasa. As I already mentioned, the pradhana rasa of madhu or honey is madhuram, but there can be a subsidiary taste called kashaya. So materials are not possessing a single taste only, because these rasas are made of Panchabhuta. Dravyas are made of Panchabhuta. Rasas are having some Panchabhuta configuration. So naturally, a material cannot be there with a single rasa. There can be multiple rasas, but the rasa can be prominent. So this is the Bhuta configuration of rasa. Mathura is made of Prithvi Jalam, Amla made of Mrudvi and Agni, Lavana made of Jala and Agni, Tikta made of Vayu and Akasha, Kadu made of Agni and Vayu, Kashayam and Prithvi Vayu. This is the uh, combination of rasa. It's a very casual expression. For example, Prithvi Jala, Prithvi is the grossest thing or heaviest bhuta, and Jala is having a binding property. So that the Mathura Rasa, the materials which are Mathura in taste will be bulky. Bulky means the bulk of this thing will be added to your body and it becomes more nutritious into your body. Or adding to the bulk of the body, like bodybuilders or even Mathura Rasam is a predominantly carbohydrates are more Mathura. So the energy of body is more relied on Mathura Rasa. Nutrition, proper proteins, fats and proteins also are uh, can add to the body. Differs in different tastes can be there. We cannot compare that protein and fats are Mathura or something like that. Most probably carbohydrates are Mathura in taste, and anything which adds to the body with in nutrition are considered to be Mathura taste. Mathura taste materials are more uh, energy givers and nutritive to your body. Likewise, so Mathura will be the most important content or staple food material of your food will be mostly Mathura, because Mathura is the most nutritious taste. So almost all the staple foods are Mathura in taste. All other tastes in food material, all other tastes are supporting Mathura only. Amla you cannot use in larger quantity. Lavana, Tikta, Kadu is the spicy thing. Kashaya is the astringent thing. All these materials are not that much um, prominent by quantity in food materials. So you can say food is predominantly Madhuram with adequate quantity of, or yes, you can say within normal limits or normalizing Madhuram, or to put the things to a combination of taste, you can add Amla Lavana, uh, Tikta Kadu and Kashaya Rasam. But even though the quantity is comparatively less, all the rasas should have their own representation in your food. The proper food or a balanced food will be shadrasam. Shadrasam means all the taste should be there in adequate quantity. Anyway, Mathura will be having a dominance. So that is the combination of rasa. And here are the major effects of rasa in the body. So a Madhura rasa dravyam. Now, general readings about general observations about how a Madhura Rasa drug will be acting on your body, but it differs in different things. It depends on the material, but generally you can have some idea about how these types of things act in your body. Local actions are there in the mouth, the action in the mouth, and the systemic action means after action after digestion or something like that, and the complications of excess intake are also mentioned. So what happens if you are consume excess quantity of Madhura Rasam, excess quantity of Amla? There are some, there will be some diseases, some sort of pathological things in your body. All those things are, for example, if you take Amla Rasam, it cleanses the mouth, it causes horripilation and teeth sensitivity will be increased. So this is the local action. Amla rasa, amla is the sour taste. It's more appetizing, digestive, ushna, purgative, facilitating evacuation of flatus, increase kapha, pitta, and rekta. So you can here you can see another thing. If a patient come to you with a disease which is more related to kapha, pitta, and rekta, such diseases we will advise to restrict the intake of amla, because amla is increasing kapha, pitta, and rekta. For example, skin disease. Skin disease, we will move on to the disease in another session. But skin disease are predominantly, they are related to kapha, pitta and rekta. Kapha, pitta as doshas and rekta as dhatu. So if amla is told to be increasing kapha, pitta and rekta, excess use of amla should be restricted while treating skin disease, or it is called kushta. So that is the importance of knowledge of rasa. Here are the complications of excessive intake: slackness of the body, that is called shaithiliyam, giddiness, itching, anemia, visarpa, edema, etc. All those things are. Knowing the rasa only, you cannot decide all the things, but these are only the general impressions. It's specific to drug or material, but generally these things are there. So these descriptions are not drug specific, general description of some or other taste. Lavanam is a salt. It promotes secretion in the mouth, that is a local action. Destroys blocks, disintegrate consolidations, adhesions, causes abrasions in the tissue and all. Raktavada, a sort of arthritis, is one complication of excess intake of lavanam. Baldness, premature graying, wrinkling of skin. These things are there while you take excess quantity of lavanam. So if you use pickle regularly, use of pickle regularly, lavana rasa will be more there. Regular intake of amla means if you use a mango pickle, amla rasa will be there, lavana rasa will be there, even kadu rasa will be there. All these three rasas are, if you take this Buddha configuration, amla is agni, lavana is agni, kadu is agni. So these three tastes, that is amla, lavana and kadu, are called agneya rasam. Agneya means which is related to agni. They increase the hotness in your body. So what happens is, if you take regularly excess quantity of mango pickle, or even this such type of pickles, so amla lavana and kadu rasa you use regularly. If you take in excessive quantity, morning, noon and evening, with all the food, if you take excessive quantity of this thing, agnayatam of your body, you increase the hotness of your body, which contributes to early degeneration or early graying, early aging, etc. So agni is that much good for your aging. If you take more agneya things, premature aging, you can expect a premature aging. So that is the importance of knowing the taste, or knowing the activities of the loss of power, loss of libido, fainting, tremor, etc. are there while you use kadu. For amla, this anemia, edema, slackness of the body, giddiness, etc. are there. For lavana, premature graying, wrinkling of the skin, etc. are there. So if you take it's a best example for how this one particular material brings out many effects in your body. So that is based on the knowledge of rasa. So there can be different combination of tastes. It's enumerated as 3 types. It's not that much important, but it is mentioned in Ashtanga Hridayam. Two rasas are at 15 like that. It's not that much important. So back to Dravyadi Vijnaniyam. So the whole chapter of Rasabhediyam is dedicated to the knowledge of rasa, the classification, the effects and all. So that is concisely already we have dealt with that. Back to Dravyadi Vijnaniyam, the other 4 principles are Guna, Virya, Vipaka and Prabhava. Guna, I have dedicated one whole lecture for that Guna portion, not need to explain more. Virya itself is a potency or 2 prominent gunas are taken as Virya. That is Ushnam and Sitam. 2 prime viryas, because the nature itself is characterized by the binary. It's called Agni Somiyatvam. Agni Somiyatvam means the nature itself, the whole earth or the nature or the universe itself is a combination of Ushnam and Sitam. Either it can be Ushnam or Sitam. In the case of earth also, earth on the surface it is predominantly Jalam. Jalam means that is Sitam. But in the while going to the crust inside, it is boiling like Ushnam. The lava is there. So inside Ushnam, outside Sitam. So that is the Agni Somyata of earth. In human body, we need Sitam. Predominantly, we are filled with the Sitam. because the body is not that much destructive, it is almost constructive, as we have already mentioned in the case of gunas. Sita is the most constructive guna. So body lives as such. Body has a form, body make a construction during years, growth is there. So constructive force is more in body, but it needs the help of ushna or digestion or metabolism to become constructive. So that is the mutuality of Sita and Ushna. Sita is there present in the body, but to nourish this Sita, you need Ushna, because Ushna is the transformation through metabolism. Metabolism itself is represented by, you can either, it can be like a sympathetic parasympathetic combination, destructive constructive combination, anabolism catabolism combination. So all these are in binaries. So in such a way, the total things can be classified into two major potencies, that is Ushnam and Sitam. So those are separately mentioned as Virya. So primarily, if you take a drug, you call it as either as Ushna Virya or Sita Virya. That is the primary, the most potent indicator of a drug action. Some others argue that in the gunas, among the gunas, 20 gunas are there. So among those gunas, 8 most potent gunas are selected and presented as Virya. So that is called Ashtavidha Virya. That proposal also is there, but usually we use this Dvividha Viryam. Dvividha Viryam means Ushna Sita combination. Here 8 gunas from among the 20 are enumerated as Virya, Guru, Lekhu, Snigdha, Ruksha, Sita, Ushna and Manda Tikshna. So that this proposal is not that much popular in Ayurveda. In popularly we use the Ushna Sita Virya to refer materials. Vipaka is the metabolic effect, as I've already mentioned. The transformed state of rasa is after metabolism is called vipaka. There are 3 vipakas, Mathura, Amla, Lavana, because finally the materials are going to act on dosha or increase dosha or nourish dosha. So a material, if at all they are having 6 days, but finally they have to nourish the dosha pattern in your body. So the vipaka is fixed to be 3. Because Mathura vipaka is there, it supports kapha. Amala vipaka is there, which supports pitta, and Kadu vipaka is there, which supports vata. And 6 rasas are there. There are Madhura Lavana rasa becoming Mathura vipaka. Generally, there can be exceptions. Amala vipaka becoming Amla rasa becoming Amla vipakam, and Tikta Kadu Kashaya becoming Kadu vipakam. So these 3 are, because we need the materials to nourish the 3 doshas. So the materials after digestion is assumed to have 3 types of actions on doshas, supporting Vadam, Pittam and Kapham separately. So 3 vipakas are there in that way. And there is another property called, or principle called Prabhavam. Prabhavam is, even though we are having Rasam, Viryam, Vipakam and Gunam, some of the actions are not explained through these 4 principles. There are so many examples for that. I am not going into that details. That means that is the specific property of that drug, or can be called exceptional property. A drug, if you take a drug and you taste the drug and the drug is Mathuram, you can expect some activities based on that rasam. But this drug exhibits a totally different activity. And the reason and the factor behind this activity is unknown, because we cannot explain. On the basis of the rasa, virya, vipaka and guna, we are not capable to explain how this activity appears in the material. So such a property which is unknown is classified as another. So non-properties are there. Whichever is unknown is coming under prabhava. We don't know what happens there. It's a limitation. You can say it is a limitation of the science. We cannot explain everything. So whichever is unexplainable, we agree that it is unexplainable. It's not known. We are not claiming something over that. We go for that. Okay, it is unexplainable. So the such a proper there is an allocation for such properties under Prabhava. For example, exceptional properties shown by drugs apart from their expected activities when compared to similar drugs. For example, milk and ghee are similar in almost all respects, like the rasa are same for milk and ghee. Major gunas are guru snigdha, virya, sita, vipaka and mathura. All these things are same as for milk and ghee, as in the case of any madhura drug. Any madhura rasa drug will be having a combination of gunas like this. Madhura rasam will be naturally guru and snigdham, will be naturally sita viryam, will be naturally madhura vipakam. So this is the usual combination of a madhura rasa. Even though milk and ghee are same in all these structures, usually such materials are suppressive to appetite. Okay, if a drug is madhura rasam and guru snigdham, naturally it suppresses the digestive capacity of a person. So it is called agni mandyagaram. It reduces digestive capacity. So you don't take such materials in excess quantity. It reduces the digestive capacity. But ghee has an exceptional property. In controlled doses, ghee is appetizing. It is called deepanam. Deepanam means it's appetizing. It's increase. That is why we usually give ghee to children in small dose, because it increases the agni. Daily, if you take continuously, if you take ghee in small doses continuously for a longer duration, it gradually it increases appetite, but it cannot be expected from a material which is having these properties. So the reason is unknown, but it has the action. That is important. Even though the reason is unknown, it exhibits the action. So you cannot explain by which quality or by which principle this activity is there in that drug. So such a activity will be, we will say it is due to prabhavam. So the reason is not explainable with the aforesaid attributes. Such activities is told to be due to prabhavam. The karmam, the deepana karma, for example, the deepana karmam of krita or ghee is due to prabhavam. We cannot explain it. So prabhava is the unknown factor behind the exceptional activities. Even though it is exceptional, almost all the drugs will be having such exceptional properties. For example, already we have explained that madhura rasa will be having such and such activities, but all the madhura rasa drugs will be having some common activities as explained, but each and every madhura rasa drug will be different from one another. So there comes the prabhava. We cannot explain how. If you explain the activity with the madhura rasa, all the madhura rasa dravyas will be having the same activity. There is no difference. So prabhava comes there. We don't know the reason, but it is there. It is visible. It is evident. So the reason is unknown. It is not, reason is absent. Reason is there, but we don't know that reason. That is the thing. Such reasons are clubbed together. Such reasons are clubbed together to say that there is a prabhava. So these are the 5 drugs, principles of drug action: rasam, gunam, viryam, vipakam and prabhavam. And there are 3 rules regarding the action of these things. The same drug will be having all these things. So which will be more active? So there are 3 rules. A drug brings out varying actions prompted by varying principles. For example, some of the actions by rasa, some others will by guna, still others by vipaka. So same drug can be having different actions. Some actions due to rasam, some other actions due to viryam, vipakam and all. So there is no hard and fast rule regarding which is active in a drug. Okay, so that is a sort of confusion there. But in another rule, whichever property is more powerful, they subdue others in bringing out action. That is another rule. And third rule is, if all the principles are equal in equal potency, innately there are increasing grades of power in the order rasa, vipaka, virya and prabhava. So if all are equally potent, Rasa will be having the least potency, least activity. Vipaka, Virya and Prabhava. Prabhava is the most potent thing which comes to action. So in that order, Rasa and Vipaka, then Virya, finally Prabhava. In that order, there will be increasing grades of power. This is the three rules regarding how these principles act in a drug. We will move on to a description regarding illustrating things regarding the pharmacological profile of lesunam. As we already mentioned in the last class, we explained so many classifications. We didn't move on to the individual description of drugs. Now we will take an example of lesunam. Lesunam is the garlic. So these are the description of a drug, or these are the style in which the description of drugs are seen in Ashtanga Hridayam. So each and every drug will be there. The different things will be explained. For example, lesuno means lesunaha. It's garlic. Brisha Tikshnokshnam means Brisha means increasingly Tikshnoshnam and Ushnam. Kadupaka Rasam. Kadupaka means, you can explain in this way. Lesunam is Brisha Tikshnoshnam, so it is Gunam. Kadupaka means Vipakam, so it is Kadu Vipakam. And Rasam means same. Kadupaka Rasam means Kadupakam and Kadu Rasam. The same Rasa will be there. Kadu in Pakam and Rasam. Kadu Vipakam and Kadu Rasam. Sara is again a Gunam. Hridyaha means it is a cardiotonic, you can say, or it supports the function of Hridayam. Usually we use lesuna in the case of hypertension, in the case of cardiovascular disease and all. So it is Hridyam. Hridyam means supports the function of Hridayam. That is an action. That is not a property. This is an action. Finally, Caesium means it supports the growth of Kesam, that is hair. So that is Karma. These two are karmas. This is Snigdham. Snigdham means it is Gunam. Rojana Deepana means it is digestive or appetizer. Appetizing quality is there. So we are using these type of things in food materials. So Rojana Deepanam is the karmam. All these are the action of lesunam in different diseases. Kilasam. Kilasam is the leukoderma. Kushta means skin disease. Gunma means flatulence. Arshas means piles. Meham means prameham. That is something like metabolic syndrome or diabetes. Krimi, worms. Kapha, Anila means these two are doshas. Kapham and Vadam. Anila means Vadam. So it alleviates Kapham and Vadam. Hidda means hiccup. Penasam, this cold. Swasam, respiratory disease. Shasakasam. Kasam means cough or respiratory diseases. Asrapitta Krit. Asrapitta Krita means it increases pittam and rektam. It brings out impurity in rektam and increase pittam. That means if you use these materials in an excess manner, or this lesunam, if you use in an excess quantity, it increases pittam. And it contribute to the impurity of rektam also. So these are the effects. So the description can be classified under different headings. Some guna, some rasas, vipakam, karmam, and the action. Some of the actions are, for example, kapha anilam. It reduces kapham and vadam. So you can explain this action on the basis of gunas. For example, it reduces kapham because it is kadupagam. In the first chapter of Ayushkamiyam, we have explained the relationship between dosham and rasam. There we have mentioned that kadu rasam usually reduce kapham. So the action of lesuna in kapha can be explained in terms of the kadu rasam and kadu bhagam. Okay. On the other side, it reduces vadam because it is guru. So the guna in guru and snigdham. So guru and snigdha properties are there in lesunam. So naturally guru snigdha property alleviates or decrease the presence of vadam. So this action can be explained through some properties. Another example, Rojanam Deepanam is there. Rojanam means it brings out more taste. Or usually it is appetizer. Deepana also is appetizer. So appetizing nature is there for Lesunam because it is Tikshnoshnam. Tikshnoshnam means it increases Agni. It increases Agni. When Agni is increased, you will be having more appetite. You will be having more taste. So this karma can be explained through these two things, these two gunas. On the other side, Lesunam is Hridyam. Hridya means Lesuna is having a specific affinity towards heart or Hridayam. This affinity cannot be explained through gunas because if you have a guna, it can act anywhere in the body. But it is said that Lesuna is having a specific affinity to express these gunas on Hridayam. That property, that karmam is not properly explained with these gunas. So Hridayam means specific action on heart. So a thing which has an affinity to a particular organ cannot be explained how it becomes affinity to this affinity comes. We cannot explain through these gunas because if the gunas are there, these gunas can act on anything in the body, any organ in the body or any system in the body. But particularly this drug acts on Hridaya in a specific meaning. Specifically it acts on Hridaya. So that action cannot be explained with these gunas. So you can say Lesuna, this Hridya action of Lesunam is a prabhavam, is due to a prabhavam, because you cannot explain all these things. So in that way, you can differentiate whether the action is due to some established principles or whether it is due to prabhavam. There are many examples for prabhavam. Not going into those details. There is another concept. The same thing can be explained in another way. There is another concept called homologous and heterologous profile. A drug, you take the example of a godhumam, that is wheat. Wheat is usually all the because all the wheat and rice materials, rice varieties are madhura in taste. Naturally, there will be Sita, Guru and Snigdha because madhura is composed of Prithvi and Jala. Prithvi is heavy, Jala is Snigdham. So Sita, Guru, Snigdha properties is natural for Gothumam. Virya is naturally Sitam because the most potent thing is it is not Ushnam, so it is Sitam. Vipakam is as expected, it is Madhuram. Okay. So as expected, there is no wonder how Godhuma becomes nourishing Vrishya. Vrishya is increasing the quality of semen and reduce Vata because Vata is Laghu and Ruksham. Vata is Raghu and Ruksham. Godhuma is Guru and Snigdham. So there are opposite properties, so it is natural reduce Vata. So there is no unexpected thing in the case of Godhuma. But while coming to Yavam, Yavam is another variety of cereal, that is barley, which is equally Madhuram as Godhumam and Guru, but there is an unexpected property there, that is called Ruksham. So even though all other properties are similar to Godhumam, here is a property Ruksham. So this is an exceptional property. This exceptional property contributes to the action that it increases Vadam and reduce Kapham. That is why in diabetes patients, diabetes mellitus or Prameham, it can be roughly correlated to Prameham. Kapha has major role. In Prameham, Kapha has major role. So a food material, almost all the staple food materials are kapha, increasing kapha. All the because starch in modern parlance, starch content is more there. So it increases diabetes or increases kapha. But there is an exception for Yavam. Even though it is Madhura, even though it is Sita, Madhura and all, it reduces kapha because it is Ruksham. Because it is Ruksham. As in the case of Lesunam, Lesuna is a Kadurasam. Kadurasam means the expected gunas are Ushnam and Tikshnam, but even though it is Ushnam and Tikshnam, on the other side it is Guru and Snigdham. Guru and Snigdham, but Ushna Viryam and Kadu Vipakam. So Ushna Viryam can reduce what is called Kapham, and Guru Snigdham can be there to reduce Vadam. So Vadam and Kapham, as we have already explained, Vadam and Kapham are reduced by the intake of garlic. But these properties, these gunas are not matching to others, because Kadu, Ushnam and Kadu are usually Ushnam and Tikshnam, or in Laghu and Ruksham. Okay, which is Ushnam. A thing which is Ushnam, naturally it becomes Laghu and Ruksham, but here in the case of garlic, it is Guru and Snigdham. So it contributes to the reduction of Vada. So in that way, Lesuna is having an exceptional combination of properties. So here Godhuma is a homologous combination profile, but garlic and barley are heterologous, because that combination itself is not matching. It's not regarding the karma. The profile itself is not matching. So there is another term called Samana Pratyayarabdham and Vichitra Pratyayarabdham. Samana Pratyayarabdham is the homologous combination of the principles, and Vichitra Pratyayarabdham is there are some mismatching in the combination. So they can have different actions based on these different unexpected things. So if the total activity is not at all explainable with all these things, here what happens is, here garlic reduce Vada and Kapha. There is no Prabhavam. There is no Prabhavam, because Prabhavam is a thing which cannot be explained by any profile, any details in the profile. But here what happens is, you can explain it, this thing. Guru and Snigdha is there, so it reduces Vada. Ushna is there, so it reduces Kapha. So there is no Prabhavam. Okay, but in between the profile, there are mismatches. So it is called Vichitra Pratyayarabdham. So the slightly different. Prabhava is slightly different from Vichitra Pratyayarabdham. I am not going into such confusions. But you broadly, one thing we have to keep in mind is, even though the rasa is there, we can assume some activities from the rasa itself. For example, if you have Madhura, all the other things can be naturally assumed. But all the materials are not like that. For all the materials, you cannot deduce the further principles based on rasa. So there can be some mismatches when compared to the expected activities or expected profile of the drug. So drug is important. That is the thing. It is not the rasa which is important. Drug is important. Each and every drug has its own profile. Even though we are making some generalized categorizations, each and every drug is special by its own way. So that is the message by explaining homologous and heterologous profiles. So I am not going into further details. These are the principles of drug action. So for taking any drug, if you go for details of any drug, you will get details about either its rasa, its guna, virya, vipaka and prabhava. All those things, or it brings out some karmas. So if the karma is explained through all these the details, there is no prabhavam. But if the karma is not explained through these things, there can be a prabhavam. Prabhava, in that case, prabhava will be more potent than others. Okay, exceptions will be more potent. Okay, in that way, prabhava is the superior quality of a material. In that manner, every drug will be different by its own characteristics, even though they share some common characteristics with others. So drug is important, dravyam is important. Dravyam is the thing which brings out karma. So that is the message. So with that, I'm concluding this session about the principles of pharmacology in Ayurveda. We will link these principles with the Bhaishajya Kalpana. Bhaishajya Kalpana means formulations. even though materials are having their own principles, by making different formulations, you can alter some sort of alterations, can be some sort of changes can be made in these properties by processing. That is called samskaram. By processing or by adopting different types of formulations, there is a chance to alter the original qualities to some extent. That means it cannot be totally rescheduled, but you can make some sort of changes by in these qualities by adopting different types of formulations or different types of processings, which are called samskaram. All those processings are elaborated in Bhaishajya Kalpana, and in Ashtanga Hridayam, Kalpasthanam is a section which explains Bhaishajya Kalpana. So that is the relationship between this chapter and Kalpasthana. Kalpasthanam is a section where the different processings or different formulations or the different methods of preparation of medicines are explained. As I already mentioned, there are some primary kalpanas, primary formulations and secondary formulations. All those things are there. How to prepare, what is the proportion of materials, what is the quantity, and how it should be prepared, how is the preparation becomes ideal, like that. So all those details are there in Kalpasthanam. So that is the extension of Kalpasthanam, is the extension of Dravyaguna Vijnanam in a pharmaceutical point of view. So with that, I conclude this session. Next sessions will be on these two chapters are regarding the Dravya part of Ayurveda, or drug part of Ayurveda, material part of Ayurveda. Now we will move on to the body, human body, the makeup of human body, the changes in doshas, dosha, dhatu, mala, etc. And finally to the treatment. So next two sessions will be on composition of body and the primary structure of the body and some fluctuations of the doshas, dhatu and malas and all. Finally to how to treat these things primarily. These details will be dealt in the next two sessions. Okay, thank you.